Do you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think we've got everybody present that we need. So at this time, I will call the meeting to order, and if we please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dan Pillar, would you mind saying a prayer for us, please?
Certainly, everybody would bow their heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we pray that you watch over the activities of tonight's meeting. We pray that you watch over the activities that are occurring not only in our small town, but across the country and around the world. And you can see an end to this dilemma that we're dealing with, and that we can be stronger for it when all is said and done. We just pray that you guide us in the decisions that we make on behalf of our city this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Dan. All right, reading and approval of minutes from March 16th.
Motion to approve and suspend the reading?
Motion by Wolf,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion. All in favor of the minutes say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, minutes approved. Approval of the agenda. Any changes or additions to the agenda?
Make a motion to approve, agenda as presented.
A motion by Hack,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion. All in favor of the agenda say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the agenda is set. 5A, engineers report and agenda. Jared and John.
Hey, this is Jared with More Engineering. Jerry, or anybody, if you guys can't hear me, speak up, say something, cut me off at any time, that's fine. You should have gotten what I sent to Monty by email on Friday, sent it out. So what I have is a couple items. Again, stop me whenever, but I've left this 2009 street improvement project on here, and I got John on the phone too. So the reason, we generate a punch list and we do a spring walkthrough. It's hard to evaluate things in the winter time because they generally look like, they look crappy, and they're dirty, and sometimes the ground moves. So we are monitoring a number of things that have been brought up. Please let us know as you see things. We'll take calls to me, calls to John, emails. You can phone them straight to Monty or Dave or whoever, but our intent is, here in a few weeks to do maybe let's say around May 1st, to do a good walkthrough, make sure we have everything, determine what's going on, and if it's a punch list thing or if it's not, it's something we got to ask them to do, we'll go from there. So, any questions on the street project process?
No.
I didn't hear anything. Expedition Estates, I'm just going to touch real quick on that. That area is still blocked off. It's unsafe to travel over there. I know 11th is in pretty tough shape also. I have not been in close contact with those guys as of recent. Monty, I did talk with him on Friday, and I think he's had a very limited discussion with them, but still monitoring that area. From the city's perspective, it's something that's got to get fixed and cleaned up. It's starting to get to be a real hazard over there. My intention is to reach out to them before the next meeting, unless I get told not to. I know there was some legal action going on over there. Maybe you guys are more in the know than I am, but if I don't hear otherwise, I'll plan to call them, contact over there in 2 weeks, and bring it up at your next meeting, which they really can't do anything in the short term anyways, so that's why we didn't call them last week.
Jared, 1 second, please. About Expedition. Monty, have you heard anything this past week at all from?
No.
Okay, so at some point, I think we need to actually get, I don't know if we get our insurance company involved, or it's something that I hate to just sit there and let it linger for, and we need some answers from somebody what's gonna happen, or who's responsible, or who's gonna deal with this, and is it, who's in?
They all have legal representation, so
They do.
it's all being addressed by legal counsel, probably through the courts eventually.
I just wish there was a way we could speed it up. I know that's probably gonna be a tedious process if we're talking about legal counsel from all three entities or two or whatever, but, all right, sorry, go ahead, Jared.
Hey, Jerry, I got one more to add to that, this is Jason. I don't know if this does kind of go slower. We may want to think, and I don't know if we can, legally with in and out passageway up to that area, that 11. If anybody's traveling as of this past this weekend, it's a kind of a racetrack on the top of that manhole covers, if anybody's noticed that yet. I don't know if we block the manhole covers or what, any suggestions or thoughts on that, guys?
Other than putting a orange cone on top of the manhole cover, which might get blown over or
Yeah,
driven over or knocked over every other day, I guess we could screw it down to the manhole cover.
yeah, I just don't know, thinking to do a triangle, barricade across it, around that area or not, or, I don't know.
I agree, actually, someone could do, I'm sorry, Jason, go ahead.
Or we just leave it and see how it progresses, but it's definitely progressing quicker than normal. If there's a way we can barricade around the green, I guess I'm personally would like to see that.
I think that's a good idea, because if someone does some they could do some damage to their vehicle by hitting that thing right now. So, and then we're the ones that are gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So we'll visit with Dave and see what we can come up with to
We got to do some shorter ones.
keep it, do something to it, okay?
You can call Dave tomorrow or something, give it a second.
You will.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Go ahead, Jared.
Okay, so water storage system upgrades. So I always try to backtrack just here. So what we're doing here is we're getting money and a site lined up to put the concrete water tank in a higher elevation, correct the water pressure problems in town. Should be a long-term solution. The reason we do concrete over steel is because we don't deal with coatings, and it's a little bit more expensive project up front, but it pays for itself over and over and over again after the first 20 years. So as far as that goes, the process is to secure a site. This last month, got a landowner. You guys are working with a landowner there that allowed us to drill holes. What the process is there, Ron Intertech will do some investigative soil borings. They're lined up to do 3 right now. There's a map included in the packet. We're going to have them do 3 borings in that area because the elevations all work for those spots. If we find a site that's favorable, Ron will recommend that site. And at that point, we can work with the landowner to acquire that piece of property that we would need, both the final site and easement to run a pipe out there and a road. And those don't have to be the same site. And we definitely have to work with the landowner to do what's allowable by that person and then what's still fair for the city.
So as of right now, I guess we've been given the thumbs up to do some investigative borings out there. It'll be done near the end of this month, as the schedule was, but they were gonna try and speed it up if some other project either fell through or they got some extra time or they wanted to work the weekend. But that's the initial kickoff here. Once we have the location, we have to do some environmental work on that site to make sure that we don't have any issues with it. So, for instance, this is a new site. We'll be using money that's from the state and federally subsidized. So there's environmental rules for using these funds. If you look close at our engineering proposal, I included time to do that engineering or environmental review. Your site is a farm field right now, and one of the steps involved will be to have archaeologists look at the site, make sure there's nothing culturally sensitive up there. Depending on the alignment of the road and the pipe, might be affecting the wetland. Then removing the tank, we have to document the tank, and that's required by an architectural historian. So there's some environmental stuff. I wouldn't call them hurdles; they're just boxes to check along the way. So what I did was I put together engineering task order number 8. It involved the upfront work, design work, and bidding process. And we really can't proceed with any design or bidding stuff until we know the site. So as far as schedule goes, I would guess that we'll have borings in maybe 3 weeks. We'll get told what the preferred site is, or maybe there won't be a difference between the sites. And at that point, bring it back to you and say, here's what they recommend. And if you say, yep, looks good, why don't you initiate the environmental stuff, or whatever the next steps are. So I think it's going to take us, weeks, possibly until your May meeting, to have an answer back from those guys on what that site is up in that area.
Okay.
This is Dan. I have a question. The prairie dog monies that we were looking at to help pay for this project, with the whole epidemic and the price of oil and stuff like that, does that have any bearing on the availability of those monies?
Monty would be the guy to answer that, but I believe it's yes.
That is correct.
Governor Burgum talked about that last week also, that those buckets that fill up, prairie dog buckets are some of the last ones that get spilled into. And he said those would be probably affected, which, that's, I think I'm assuming, Jared, but maybe you need to check that. Are we supposed to continue with the process of this? Hopefully we assume that things are gonna be back to normal sometime in the next couple months, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, but, are people scrapping these projects now and waiting till later?
So what my understanding is here, and so we estimate this project cost $2.7 million, and we're getting about 60% cost share from the State Water Commission, and we had planned to use the $870,000 or whatever the exact number was that you were going to get prairie dog money to pay for the majority of the local share, and then the drinking water state revolving fund loan program will be used to cover any difference. So yes, we definitely have to be very mindful of this. We had thought that the prairie dog money was coming in June, and I don't know this, but I would guess it's going to be delayed at least 6 months, maybe even a year. I think we're being told that it's still going to come, but we don't know when. And Monty can correct me if I'm wrong, or Jerry can. I'm as cautious as you guys. I think that we've got to be very careful, but I do think we need to investigate the site, and if we can get a site nailed down in the next month or two, that, you know, we don't have to start design or bidding or construction until you're ready to do so. But before that farm field is planted up there, I'd like to do the borings and have our survey crew go up and drive to the site and be done with it. At least get that out of the way. Okay.
I agree.
It's good. It's something we gotta be very mindful of, though. I'm with you.
Any other questions about the
So,
water tower for Jared?
So Jared, so I got a question about the property, I guess. So then a landowner would be then, I guess, in game to, I guess, you know, to, I guess, or sell that then, I guess, like piece of property, is that right?
Yes, I think there's gonna be some need for some continued conversation. Once we get to the point where it looks like the land is suitable and stuff up there, then there's gonna have to be a little sit-down conversation. We'll do some convincing, possibly.
Well, I guess, you know, I would think that, we would want to know if that is I guess a possibility. And like, even if it is, I guess, the price tag of that prior to, I guess, like spending all this money on the plan just on that site.
So what we had talked about was that, there's about 3 different locations up in this area, or maybe 4 locations that involve about 3 or 4 different landowners. This is the closest high elevation that we can get. So it would be the absolute cheapest location in the city. And when we approached this person, basically it was that if we'd like to do some boring out there, and if we can find a good spot, you know, we'd like to purchase a piece of property. And so the site would be about 1/4 of an acre and then we need an easement for the pipe and the road to get up there. And the only fair way to do it is to do an appraisal on the land. So, you know, if we need, by the time we're all said and done, we need 2 acres of easement and 1/4 of an acre for the site. We have to have that appraised, and that's just the way you do it, because it's both fair for the landowner selling the stuff, and it's fair for the taxpayers that have to pay for the land. So from what I understand, the guy was okay with us drilling the holes up there to see if we can find a suitable spot. I hope we can. I hope the guy is so favorable to that, and maybe Dan can add more to that. But unless he's getting cold feet, then we gotta go talk to somebody else.
Well, what has come up in the most recent conversation is that this was the land that, what is the term, homestead. This is the homestead land for the family. And in my most recent conversation, he says, you know, once you give that up, it's gone. And I wasn't going to have a whole lot of further conversation at this time. You know, I think I don't know if it's cold feet. He was just saying to himself, this is homestead land, and some people get fairly sentimental about that. So,
Dan, do you think it'd be worth maybe Monty and myself or another commissioner to go visit with this gentleman? And because I know what Casey's saying, why go punch holes and waste time and money if we're not gonna, you know, we gotta go to a different spot.
and when I first presented the drawings and all of that type of stuff, I was getting very, very favorable response. And then this individual's son took him up there to take a look at where the stakes were. I don't know what played out in conversations or anything there. But then when I had my next conversation with the landowner, he was somewhat sentimental about it being homestead land, which, you know, I understand, I get. So I can't with 100% confidence say that the energy that was first part of the conversation is still there. But I don't know that it's an unsurmountable task either to have a conversation and see about the availability. He did ask, his concern was the accessibility to the site. You know, and really, I personally walked it all the way up there, and I think Jared did a fantastic job of defining the path, basically right along the edge of the usable land up there, so that you're not going down into some poor quality land. And so the landowner just asked if there was an alternative way of getting in there. And we were going to drive that down and see if that was a possibility coming straight in from the east.
Like off of Highway 27? Or straight north of the water tower, then over to the west?
I don't think the path straight north would be very accessible because you go down into where there's, you know, there's all kinds of crud. And I don't know that the straight east is any better. I think straight east takes you just north of Peace Lutheran Cemetery.
Yeah, I've been on that section line, and you almost need a horse to get across that. Seriously, it's a ravine.
Yeah, I went to drive the other day.
At that point, it's not a section line. I think that's just the quarter line there.
Dan, do you think the next step should be a couple other people visiting with this landowner? And do you think that there's a timeline?
In terms of a delay to talk to him, or?
Yeah.
Let me have a little bit more conversation here, and I'll get back to you on that, Jerry.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll tell the Silverborn guys to hold off until I hear from you guys.
Okay. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jared on the water tower or the street project? Okay, Jared, what else?
Okay, all right. Sorry, just getting back to my agenda here.
And if you're not done talking about the storage, water storage, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. These street programs.
I do have one other thing on the water storage. Maybe it's premature at this point. We did talk about aesthetics, and I can tell you, having walked to where those stakes are, if that's the ultimate location, aesthetics are non-critical because nobody is going to be able to see it.
So you're saying no need to, spend any extra money on?
That's right there visible. I'm saying it's not worth the money. I think if we just do the concrete structure,
Okay.
That's suitable.
All right, thank you.
Good. If it's right in town, then it's something that we want to look at and be proud of. That's good. But it is cost that doesn't benefit us at all. So if we can do without that, that's great. Then I just have a couple quick things. I don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time, but I'm gonna skip 6.2 on my list first. The State Water Commission. The State Water Commission, every 2 years at this time, we send out letters to all the water boards, all the counties, all the cities, everybody wanting to know what the 2021 to 2023 biennium is going to hold for water projects across the state. And I brought this up 2 months ago, talked about it real briefly. Basically what they're looking for is project planning forms, and it's not a commitment, but Casey had brought up the proposal that Alltech gave you guys maybe 4 or 5 years ago, which was to study the Well, we look at doing a drain on the south side of town, which would, number one, be to, I think, get rid of the nuisance water, but number two, to, possibly address some of the floodplain on the south side of town. After that meeting, Monty forwarded me their maps and the council meeting minutes and the discussion. It's not a simple little deal. Anytime you start looking at FEMA to adjust floodplain things, it gets a little bit complicated. So I think you're gonna have to decide whether the cost is worth, or the benefit is worth the cost on doing it. I do have a map, sorry, it should be like the last page in my report that I sent, or second to last page. And Monty had actually put this map together, so. Anyways, the point of this is there's cost share out for both studies, and there's cost share for projects like this from the State Water Commission. If the city of Hazen wants to apply for a cost share for either of those things, a study or a project, next biennium, you need to submit a planning form before the end of this month. And Monty can do the planning form. I'll provide the information for him. There's no cost to do it. It's just one of those things that I don't. This might be a good project for some people, but I think it's going to be very costly, and I'm not sold on whether you can afford it or the people that it would benefit can afford it yet either. And so, kind of going back to where you were a couple years ago, I think it needs a study, and that's just to figure out the cost, feasibility, and who it would actually benefit, and then if it does actually shrink the floodplain in some of these spots in the south part of town. So you guys never did proceed with that detailed study. So what I would recommend, I guess, is fill out the planning form now, and if in a year you decide you want to proceed with that study or a project, then you can get the State Water Commission cost share on it.
So then so this is just, would be preliminary, get it on the books for a possibility. It's not binding us to anything, right?
No, it's not by any means. And to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, knowing your financial situation, and I would be surprised if you decided to go down that route unless something changed where there was a demand for it and someone was really, really insisting that he go down this route. But without some people petitioning you to do it, I'd be surprised if we did it.
Okay. Any comments, questions? I guess, it's something that, we do have a lot of, when there's big runoff of rain or the spring snow thaw, melt, a lot of water does run down that area in past the welding shop, down past the Catholic Church, down, it just kind of winds through a lot of things, but realistically, we've not had any major issues yet. I don't want to say it would never happen, but I don't think we have any citizens asking for this to be done because of flood insurance or past damage to their property. So I think if we just get it on the books, there's a possibility, and if we need to open it up in a year or two or later, then great. But you said there's no cost to doing that up front, Jared?
No, there's no cost. No, I don't have to build anything. Like I said, Monty can do the planning form, or he and I will work on it together. It's not a big deal.
Commissioners, are you all okay with that?
Yeah, there's no financial obligation up front. I guess it doesn't hurt to have that in place. I looked at, what Jared had written up it just seems huge. I don't know that we would ever end up going down that path, but it sure seems pretty spendy.
All right, that's what we'll do then, Jared.
All right, yeah, I don't know what kind of discussion we're gonna have today on this. I mean, we could go into the weeds if you want, but I'm not proposing doing that, just because like I said, I don't see it. Just, we'll fill out the form for the study, and you guys decide that it becomes a priority a year, 2 or 3 years from now, we'll request a cost share and
All right,
the next step.
okay, thank you.
All right, yep, all right, so last thing I have is, it looks like, WRT is building a new building in town, and that is awesome, good, great. We reviewed plans, I think they hired their contractor, they're now going down that route. You guys probably know the schedule better than I can. It's been brought up again, looking at that alley behind WRT, because it's a drainage issue. They had planned to run their roof gutters to the north of the building and put in a pipe to handle it. And Monty got emailed by their engineer wanting to know about draining it to the south instead and putting it into the alley. And that kind of just spurred some discussion and I'm looking at the last page of the document that I had sent, so it's page 22 of the PDF. Very crude sketch. It's their site plan. I just drew it in red pen on it. And really what it came down to is if they're gonna look at putting their storm gutters down into that alley, we really don't want them to do it unless we have some storm sewer down there, and we don't. It's a very flat alley. You guys got a quote from Mail last year to do that alley. It was $70,000, and that was to do the alley in concrete. So I guess I see this as both a chance for WRT to benefit and for the city to benefit if you guys want to work jointly on this together. Like I said, that's just a crude sketch. They were planning to do pipe to the north side of their building, but a better project for everybody would be to run pipe to the south side. It would cost more money, and I think that they've approached you guys about maybe looking at doing this together. Is that right, Monty?
Correct.
So Jared or John, is it, if they did drain it to the alley, is there a way that they could, if this project happens in the alley, to build the alley up a little bit so there is more drainage, or does that mess with all the elevations of their building and their construction?
It is super, super flat. So when we do curb and gutter, we put a curb and gutter at about 0.5% slope. That's the minimum slope that we really want. And this alley is half of that. It's at a 0.25% slope. So there's really nothing we can make it a little bit better. Like if we rebuilt the entire alley and had all concrete and had an inverted crown down the middle of the alley, get it to a 0.25% slope without flooding anybody. So that would be okay, but not if we direct all this new stormwater back to that spot. Then we'll have flooding if we do that.
So you're saying if all the stormwater goes to the alley, we can't do the inverted crown. It's too much.
I wouldn't let them do that. I like their plan the way it is now to drain their stormwater to the streets to the north better. But unless they wanted to work with you and do joint projects to bring it to the south, if for some reason that benefits But I'm sure they're looking at wanting to get that cleaned up back there too. It's been an issue for them.
It's been an issue, yes. But you're saying you have to put storm sewer in. That, those red marks on there, that's storm sewer?
Yep, if we truly want it to work, we gotta do, about, so half the block south and half the block west, so it'll be about 1 block of storm sewer. It's about twice as much storm sewer as they were planning to do, so I guess, what I would recommend is for them to ask their contractor for a change order to do something like this and have both parties, share in it a little bit. But that's gotta be something that, the city wants to invest in too. And otherwise, we'll just let them do what they want back there.
Am I crazy to think we're looking at $250,000 to do this much storm sewer work?
I don't know. So if you look at their plan, they're planning to rip up all their sidewalk and
Okay,
to the alley on pretty much all sides of
okay,
the building. And so what you do is you put, storm sewer is not very deep. Storm sewer, let's just say averages 3 to 4 feet deep. So they could put in, when they remove their sidewalk, they could put in their pipe. And yes, it would probably include doing some extra work. But there's 2 ways to do it. The city could do a project and then assess it to them, or they could have their guy do the work. And if the city saw a benefit in it, agree to be a partner and help cost share it. The easiest and cheapest for you would be to have them do it, not monkey around with any assessment districts or engineering or anything like that. You just have your engineer review it, make sure it benefits, what you're intending to do, and be done with it. But Monty wasn't sure if the council would be willing to participate in something like this or not, so we wanted it on your agenda here for tonight.
Gary, you said it was their engineers that reached back out to ask about doing the draining to the south?
Monty, that's correct, right?
That is correct, yes.
Have we had further conversations to ask them if they, would just build that, if that we would give them the approval to go to the south, but there would have to be storm sewer installed in that alleyway?
We provided them some of the rough estimates that Jared had given me. And then they were still waiting to see if that was something that the city may want to share.
I guess it's hard to know what you're sharing without a price tag. I don't know. We don't really need to have it done. I agree that alley has been a nightmare and a pain. We patch it and nothing, it's unpatchable anymore. And it's heavily used by a lot of our community, and obviously a lot of West River uses it. I would be willing to go back to West River and say, we will give you the approval. Cost share, I guess I don't know what that looks like. We need to have a much more clear definition of what it would entail, I guess. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
And Monty, or excuse me, Gary, sorry. Rebuilding the entire alley, like Mayo had given you a quote to fully reconstruct that from end to end, that was about $70,000. With this, I would guess, and it's probably not exactly what I think you, Monty, but this is going from what they were going to do to something like this. It's probably a $20,000 or $30,000 upgrade. Just because they were planning to do maybe 100 feet of pipe, and this will probably be like 250 feet of pipe. And as long as it's ripped open already, it's probably not a bad time to address it. I think it's worth asking, or, you know, engaging in a conversation and, you know, having them ask their contractor for a price, and if it is something that maybe think is beneficial to the city, would at least consider it. So I see it as maybe, you know, somewhere in that $20,000 to $30,000 type of deal, you know, for the city, but that's, I've been surprised with construction prices before too.
I'm in agreement with the approach of going back to West River, have their engineers build it up, you know, do the design up, stuff like that, and we can say that we would entertain a discussion. I don't think that commits us to anything more than just that.
I agree, and I think they're getting antsy, you know, I think they wanna get shovels in the ground pretty quickly, and they're gonna have to decide, what route they're gonna go, so this might be, I guess Monty and I will probably reach out tomorrow to them, if that's what everybody wants to do, just go back to them and a little bit more discussion, so I think that would be the best case scenario, to put that storm sewer in all the way around from the, you know, the alley out to Main Street. I think it's worth something to us, I just don't know how much we can afford, so.
You know, it would have to be worth it for them, even though it is shared with a lot of the citizens, people that go to the post office and stuff like that. West River would still require access all the way in that alley, you know, for whatever they're gonna be using it for, so I think it would behoove them to make sure that all the water flow and stuff is being taken care of, and it's not just a kind of a Band-Aid type thing.
Yeah.
Well, good. And you guys are talking, and I would guess that in 2 weeks you'll maybe have to make a decision on something.
Okay. Anything else, Jared?
At the end of my report, I'm gonna stand the line and listen in, and so just yell at me as needed.
Jared, do we need to take action on task order number 8?
It's up to you guys. I only sent it on Thursday, so if you're comfortable with the scope, I would ask for approval. If you want to defer it for 2 more weeks, you could do that as well. In the meantime, I'm gonna just tell Ron to contact us ahead of time before they do anything. So yeah, I mean, eventually I need task order 8 approved.
I think we should wait on that right now until we have more clarity about the land and the landowner up there. Unless anybody has a burning.
I'll leave it on.
Okay.
I'll leave it on the agenda for next time.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay. John, did you want to talk, or you just gonna listen?
Just gonna listen, Jared got covered.
All right. John, do you have any news yet with your family?
Not till June.
Oh, not till June. Okay, all right. Then, yeah, we don't want to hear any news yet then.
Hoping this coronavirus goes away, or at least is minimized by then, so it
Yeah.
doesn't affect anything, but
Yeah, yeah. Good luck.
thank you.
Okay, we'll move down to 5B, emergency declaration. Monty and I talked about this last week, and did you send that out? I can't.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So this is, even though the state, the governor has done an emergency declaration for our state, you know, at first the discussions on this about 3 weeks ago was that the cities did not need to. However, cities are starting to get this emergency declaration approved and passed in their communities, just in case we need to use monies right away. Monty, can you explain that a little bit better, or?
Well, basically, by declaring this emergency, it allows us to use some of that levy emergency fund, which we basically have been using for snow removal all all the past years, but should there be something that needs to be addressed immediately, we can address it with those emergency funds right away.
And just because we have the emergency declaration approved, we don't need to spend the money, but
No.
we have access to it quicker and easier if we do, because who knows how long it'll take for reimbursements to happen and everything else after, from the state or the feds even. So that's what Monty and I when we talked the other day, thought, we kind of heard other cities were doing it, and we checked into it, and that's kind of what everybody else is thinking too, just to be able to have access to it. So,
There haven't been a lot, sorry.
Right.
There have been a few of them that have adopted their own declaration.
And Monty does have a template, and up here. So we would definitely need to have, approval and board action taken if we want to get this process started.
Well, if you want to.
Hey, Jerry, if this speeds the process in case something major happens, I make a motion that we approve this declaration.
Okay, we have a motion by Hack,
Second.
second by Wolf. Discussion. I don't know how much you'll speed up, Jason, but we would have access to it, so.
Yeah, it's probably just gonna help matters, correct?
Possibly, can't hurt. It can't hurt to have access to it. We have the money there, it's the emergency levy, and we didn't use it, this winter for snow removal, thank goodness. So it would just I don't wanna spend it, I don't wanna touch it at all. But if we need to do something, and we have access to it, it'll be just quicker and easier. And we can still apply for reimbursement from the state. Yeah, so.
And then any expenditure out of those emergency funds would be approved by the board as well, so.
Right. Any more discussion? Casey?
How much is in that fund right now?
Let's say it's right at $10,000. We're limited on how much can be in there as well.
So it's really not that much money at all.
No, it's not a large amount of money.
So if you guys didn't hear on the phone, Casey asked how much money is in that fund, and Monty thinks it's around $10,000. So it's not a huge amount, but there's something. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
This is Pat. I see item number 3 there. It says that this declaration is only effective for 7 days
No.
unless confirmed or extended by vote of the city council or the city commission. Would you like to include an extension in your proclamation?
Well, that's only if the president would have declared the emergency without board action. It's only good for 7 days. You can set it for as long as you want once the board takes action, is my understanding.
Okay.
So we can amend it if we want, but we don't have to. Jason?
Okay. Now, we just leave it, as long as we can amend it quick, sounds like we can change it if we need to, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave it as is.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Hack,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Pillar,
Aye.
Stern,
No,
Ovenover.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Moving down to 8A, building permit with variance. We have a building permit from Boudeliers, and it is on a garage. Does everybody know where this is located, or does anybody have any questions on this?
I'm not sure, I guess. Is this on your street, Dave, or not?
No, way up on the north
That's
coast.
right over here.
Way up on the north
Okay.
coast.
Okay,
So this is Langford's right here.
okay.
That's right here.
Yeah, she owns 3 lots up there. The house sits on lot 1, they're proposing the garage on lot 2. The 12-foot sidewalls would be to match up with the house, which is right now 11.9 to the bottom of the eaves. But the sewer line on this map shows it in front. I went and looked, it is actually right behind their house. Right now their sewer line runs almost right against the skirting on the trailer house. They would like to set the garage 3 feet forward, so it would only be 3 feet off the top of the line. The garage would sit in this area.
Okay.
You know, right now the pipe runs right here, so they would move the garage forward a little bit.
So they moved the garage to the
South, Yeah.
So we're not covering up the water line.
right,
Okay.
to the sewer line.
Sewer line, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is Jason. I do have one question on the 10-foot sidewall. What was the last garage we approved? Was it 10-foot sidewall or 12?
12 joules. It's up in that
12?
area as well, yes.
Okay.
And the reason they wanted to go that high is it ties it into the existing house, correct?
It would give basically the same line across the house and the garage.
And with the movement you talked about for the sewer line, it's still attached with a breezeway to the house?
They aren't attaching it at this time. Because that would require a foundation, so they aren't attaching. They're just going to have that small area in between them. I know it looks like they're attaching, but the last I was told they are not attaching it.
It just looks like in their drawing that they provided, it looks like there's a roof area and stuff like that attaching between the house and the garage.
That's what it does look like, but Mike said their last discussion, in his last discussion with them, they said, no, it will not be attached.
I will clarify that.
We'll clarify.
And that is still platted as separate lots, is that correct?
That is correct.
So just food for thought here. Is there any way to suggest that if you build that garage, to have the 2 lots replatted to a single lot?
They wouldn't have to actually replat them. We can just have the county combine them.
And the only reason I suggest that is then later on, you could sell that lot with the garage on there, and that would be right up next to, or sell the house and keep the lot with the garage, and then the next homeowner would have a garage, just hardly any distance at all away from the house.
Well, I mean, I guess like one thing that would help us out is if they had each lot then like split out. And then if we did like a water, then I guess a special, let's say, it might get charged for each lot, so then they would pay by the lot. But then on this one, I guess like drawing here, that's, that I guess is on the screen here. That kind of looks like the property line. It kind of goes through the edge of the house, so.
The house is right on the property.
Right on the property line. Yeah.
Other thoughts? I'm okay with the moving the garage back and having that. Is it a 4? No.
They need a 4-foot variance to
Four
the 3.
4-foot variance for the sewer. Because just the way the sewer was put in those yards is just, doesn't make any sense. So at least it wouldn't cover that up. I'm okay with that.
Move to approve the building permit with the, I guess, some variance as well.
Okay, motion by Stern to approve,
Second.
second by Wolf. Discussion?
So that's the 4-foot variance for the sewer and the 2-foot for the wall height, correct?
Yes. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Stern,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Hack,
Me,
Pillar,
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. Eight B, fireworks sales permit, memory fireworks. Wayne Hermes is doing this again. He's done it numerous years at the All Seasons Arena. He's done a nice job with that, so he's asking for approval to have a permit for this again.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Wolf,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion. Roll call.
Wolf,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Hack, Hack,
Jason, you there? Jason, you there? Jason, you there?
yeah, sorry about that.
It's all right. We're doing roll call for the fireworks permit. Do you approve or?
Yes,
Thank you.
Pillar,
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you. All right, reports, water sewer.
On Thursday of this last week, we became aware of a water leak up in my area up here. The city guys got the contractor, did a fantastic job getting that all repaired and water returned to the citizens by about supper time on Friday. So very, very good job for them and everybody that was involved in that. We had an issue today with our garbage truck. And I'll let Dave share, he had gotten a quote for repair. It's gonna be right around, $2,000 or so. So I'm gonna be making a motion as soon as Dave shares, maybe a little bit more scope on what the repair plan is for that.
The check engine light came on and it went into derate mode. There's an issue. It's a particulate filter with that DEF system. It has to be disassembled and this cartridge sent away, and they bake the contaminants out of it, bring it back, reassemble it, put it on the truck and reprogram. They're saying roughly $2,000 to do this repair. I did ask them, if you didn't bake this item and you just bought the new particulate filter to put in, they run anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 just for the part, and you'd still have the labor in and out. There's still that chance that this canister can't be baked, depending on how bad they're plugged, so they could call me back and say, you'll need a new filter, but I would bring that to you. But right now, we're looking at right around the $2,000 mark.
So based on that, Dave and I had discussion, we wanna try to get this expedited in here and stuff, so I'd be making a motion to approve, let's just put a little cushion in there, up to $2,500 for the repair of the garbage truck.
Okay, motion by Pillar,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion. Roll call.
Heller,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Hack,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Omenauer.
Aye, motion carried.
And then, the next part of the discussion, barring anything happening with the virus and everything like that, that might prevent birds from coming across the border, Dave is suggesting that we're still looking at probably towards the end of April for the arrival of our garbage truck.
Do you want to comment at all on Cenex and the car wash and the Hill residents at all, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've had some concerns because sediment comes off of the car wash, and there's a manhole right on the north end of that street there that, because of the sediment, it's built up the level in the bottom of that manhole, and it caused some backflow of sewage into the corner home there. And so our city guys have been paying very close attention to it, and they're having to go in there and suck out sediment and stuff quite regularly. I went ahead and I contacted Jared. We had a little bit of conversation, and in that particular manhole there, the car wash comes in with an 8-inch line, the resident comes in with a 4-inch line at the same level. And because you can imagine as the base of that goes up, the water covers up the 4-inch line and causes the back pressure into the house. Anyway, long story longer, Jared suggested that the only thing that we can really do in that manhole is we can validate that we've got the appropriate pitch going down the street. When we go to the next manhole, we've got plenty of, you can see the water is flowing clean and smooth there. So I think the next step is we have some further conversation with Paul. There was a plate that was missing in his settling tank there, and they were going to put that tank or that plate back in. That may help preventing some of that sediment from flowing through. And I think what it's going to involve probably is just more frequent cleaning out of that pit over there at the car wash. But it didn't sound from Jared like there was a whole lot that we could do as a city at this point down by our own manhole.
Well, talking with Paul Dahl, he also understands that this issue is kind of, they're on their side, and that eventually they may have to put a bigger settling tank in inside the car wash area there, because the one they have now is half the size of what other typical ones are. So he does realize that, and hopes it doesn't have to happen, and that this cover does what it's supposed to. So I know Ryan was going to look at it today.
We checked it today, and that has helped. We're gonna suck it out now tomorrow, but it hasn't cured the problem, but it's definitely slowed it down. We probably won't have to suck it quite as often.
This past week with the snow and the
But it was
weather, we
nice
haven't had
though.
the car washes like we did 2 weeks ago.
Right.
That they were, each car wash, they run over 100 gallons of water through the car wash per car. So that's a lot of water running past there. Okay, thanks,
And
Dan.
one last thing as it relates to our city sewer. I know with the emphasis on washing hands and everything like that, there are a lot of products out on the market that say that they're flushable, and we've had a series of issues to where we've had to go in and pump in some of the areas where a lot of these flushable items, they may be advertised that you can flush them down the toilet, but they don't. They're not very biodegradable in a very, very rapid rate, and so we've got some lines that end up getting plugged fairly quickly. So just for general knowledge of our citizens in town, we have to be somewhat careful on the things that we are putting down the commodes.
Thank you.
Hey, Monty, is that something we could, type up a little jingle and put on our site and on our Facebook page, maybe?
Yeah, we did about 2 weeks ago.
We did. We'll do it again though.
Oh, okay.
Good reminder.
I missed it,
Yeah,
sorry. Okay.
I just brought it up here so that maybe Dan would reference it in the paper as well, for people that don't have Facebook.
Got it, yeah, I can do that.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Daniel. Right, is that it, Dan Pillar?
Yep.
Thank you. Street, cemetery.
Really not the only thing we're, almost, I would say, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, 3/4 of the way done. Sorry. Patching. Getting very ahead of schedule with our nice winter, spring weather. And that's really about all I've got. That new tar kettle works great. So like I got nothing but positive feedback from the guys using it compared to our old equipment.
Okay, thank you. Dave, anything to add?
No, as long as the weather holds rain, I'm hoping maybe by the end of this week or really early next week, we should be done with our crack sealing.
And street sweeper, assume we're gonna continue to sweep.
Yeah, we're gonna get out and start that again. We're letting some of the streets cure that we got the tar on, so we don't sit there and scratch and rip it all up right away. We've done that in the past. Get out a little too early and before it really skims over and hardens, get all the way through. But
Yeah, you know, Dave, we've got a few areas where we dump snow, kind of like north of Mark Olson's there, where they've now become piles of gravel. Maybe we take a new John Deere tractor and try to scrape some of that. I know unless the ground's too soft.
Probably when it dries out a little more, put the brush on the Bobcat. Try to get it into a pile and we can maybe try to load it or scoop it out instead of rip up a bunch of grass or whatever trying to slide it. But
When we mow there's not gonna be a window left in those houses.
oh, I know, yeah. We've been watching that and hoping to get a lot smaller when the snow underneath thaws, but
Yeah.
we're thinking of getting the Bobcat out there with that boom on it.
Okay. I know the ground's gonna be soft for a while though, yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jason. Finance busing.
I don't have anything this time.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Police, fire, forestry.
I'm gonna start with the fire department. I got a call from Corey Beery. They're looking at air packs and we're looking at getting 6 of them. I guess I'm not really clear on, he said he'd like us to buy 3 and they will purchase 3.
I think we usually split that.
Okay, and they were about $1,300 a piece, $1,286 a piece. So he was requesting that. So I would put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion by Wolf, to purchase 3 of the air packs.
Second.
Second by Stern. Discussion. Roll call.
Wolf,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Hack, Taylor,
Aye.
Overdauer.
Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, and then I did visit with Jim Wolf today about their concerns over the COVID-19 virus, and they're trying to be as sanitized as they can. Of course, it's hard for them to wear, they don't have any N95 masks, hard for them to wear gloves, but they are doing what they can to protect themselves and the people that they are stopping. He said they're not going on any of the ambulance runs at this time to protect their department. That was all from Jim.
Even though we don't have N95s, do we have other things that they can wear?
He
Or
said
wear-
they are not wearing any masks at this time. So I'm not sure, and he said they don't have any.
Yeah, the N95.
Yeah. We've totally sold out. I know we've got 1 or 2 cases in town that do carry N95s. All it is just 3M articulate mask. Does anybody know if Fastenal's out?
Fastenal is out and so is Hardware Hank.
So, okay.
I was there today, I checked today at Hardware Hank.
So, yeah. And I guess they weren't 100% concerned about that at this point. He said they are doing what they can to protect themselves. So,
Okay.
and then forestry, Mike Freilich is back to work. He said he's doing a lot of desk work yet, applying for grants. So he's looking at planting some trees, and I know that everyone got these maps in their packet today. He has been planting some trees in that previous arboretum or arbor tree planting place. And some fruit trees. Like he said, he has some apple trees. Last year they got like 10 apples off or something. And he's been planting plum trees and those things for community and to have trees in town. But he is looking at the map that the Centennial group had started. When we had our Centennial, they talked about putting a whole walking path and trees and everything in there. And he was wondering if that's something that we wanted to continue with, or if we wanted to just drop it. Like I said, he is talking to NDSU and some other organizations, and they are offering grants. And he said it's a starting point. He doesn't want to get that detailed, but he'd like to do some work in this area to make it nicer. Thoughts?
One of my thoughts is I like his area that he's gonna on the east half of that property. You know, one of the things when this project came up with the old tree board and the Centennial Arboretum nature trail thing was who is going to maintain it and who is going to pay for it. I know he's looking at grants, but that's I think not even the biggest question here. It is weeds and the walking path, and mowing is going to be a nightmare in there. It's going to be I really foresee it being a bigger. It would be beautiful, but I think it'd be a situation where we don't have a tree board anymore of the people that are really on board to jump on and help with this stuff. And that is another area where the city does own that property. It is one of our only city-owned areas that we do put snow storage in the winter when we're dumping to run off into the creek. There may still be room there, according to Mike's drawings. But I think I would like to see us just stay on the east half of that property for now and let him do more of the fruit trees and make that part more appealing myself.
And he's not talking having it done in a year or two. This is a 5 to 8 to 10 year plan. Get a little bit done every year, you know, because he said, like he said, nobody's told him he's in that position forever. So what he can do, he'd like to do what he can do to beautify it a little bit and keep it going.
So then I got a question. On the grant then, does it say then like what that has to be like used for? I mean,
He didn't really specify, but he did say he's applying for a $2,000 matching grant, which he said for planting trees, which he said we plant $2,000 worth of trees in the city of Hazen easily. He's also looking at a larger one, like a $10,000 one. Not really too sure about if it's specific in other than doing this kind of project, because he talked about putting sidewalk in, a walking path to connect it with the walking path and putting up some benches or covered shelter. Yeah. But like he said, not all this year. That's too much to do in a year. But he would like to see, and I did ask, do you have a plan? I don't want us to plant 5 trees and then in 2 years say, oh, that's where we wanted the path, let's move them. And he said, yeah, if he gets the okay to go ahead with this, he can draw something up and show us and say, okay, this is the idea, this is how we kind of want to keep it constructed.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to do all that if we decide we don't want to do any of it. So.
Dave?
One thing just hitting on what you said would be, the way it is now, we go out and mow, we get in the big mower, And boy, hour and a half or two, you'd have it mowed, but you fill that with trees, there'd be a lot of man hours in there mowing your own them trees. And weed whacking and trimming.
Okay.
So that would be an expense that I would definitely have to look at down
Yeah,
the road
yeah.
as it progresses, as the one man going in.
And he said also with the trimming of the trees, you don't have to worry about the first couple of years, but after that,
Yeah, then
you
there's
have to
tree
keep them
trimming, maintenance,
pruned and everything, so it's, but like he said, he's looking at this stuff and he just wants to know
No,
how far he should go.
I think you should try to get more grants but I start on the east side and we'll
Okay.
work towards the west later, I think, 'cause
Okay, do we need that in the form of a motion or just to
No.
let him bring it to the board
I would
again? And
Say, let him work on his plan. a little
Okay.
bit. For the east half would be your best bet, and
Okay.
see what he wants to do
Okay, I will contact him.
perfect.
and what needs to be done for the grants. I mean,
Right.
what strings are attached to them.
Right. Okay, yep, I will get back to him on those.
Okay, anything else, Nancy?
No, that should be it.
Okay, thank you. Buster, you still there?
I'm still here.
All right, you're,
Coming through loud and clear?
yep, can hear you good.
Okay, sounds like a deal. Anyway, we're still working on getting the space filled over at the Commerce Center that Hazen Family Eye Care vacated or will be vacating, let's put it that way. And we think that's going to fall into place, and so that's moving forward. Of course, everything's been kind of delayed just a tad with Corona and everything else. Other than that, we do have a meeting. My board is meeting tomorrow. I did have one of the tenants that had requested probably a waiver from a month's lease. So we'll have a discussion about what the board wants to do with, if they're going to look at any waivers or not. Also, I've been in contact with Carla at the bank and have talked with her on a number of different situations. I've sat in on a lot of the webinars that have been taking place on the plans, the CARES plan, and then how they break out after that, trying to stay ahead of the game in terms of what's been happening. And finally, email has slowed down just a tad from previously. The inbox is always loaded, it seems like, with information coming from every direction. So hopefully we can continue to move forward. If I do have one final comment, but I would first ask, and it doesn't really pertain to HCD, but I guess I would ask if there are any questions from anybody that's listening in relative to HCD issues.
I have one, Buster. Any other movement on the housing facility? Any more red tenants moving in there?
Oh, yes. I had a conversation with Sandy about a week ago, and it looks like we could have potentially 3 more tenants in there. So we were looking at probably getting that number to 15 over in you're talking Pioneer now.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, thank you.
So I think we could be to probably 15 by the 1st of May.
That's great.
It certainly was looking that way, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, any other questions?
No, thanks, Buster.
I have one critique, and that is from being 1,200 miles away. Some folks are coming through very loud and clear. Auntie, I could barely hear you. Dave, I couldn't hear at all. I did hear, and I'm assuming that those folks are in the room with you, Jerry, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and Pat, I don't know, did Pat call in or is he in the room?
Pat called in.
Yeah, okay, he seemed like he picked up then after a little bit, but yeah, I had a very difficult time picking up any conversation from Monty and definitely didn't pick up anything from Dave, but just put that in your memory bank for the future.
Got it, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and under my report, just want to mention that on the 8th, there is an all cities conference call. Did you guys all receive that email on that? Okay, it looks like he's going to have it opened up to 1,000 people can get on that call. And I'm I'm hoping that it's not a situation where he's telling us that we have to make some hard decisions ourselves. Because it sounds like when I listened to him today at 3:30, the governor does not want to do a blanket statement still for our entire state to treat West Fargo the same way he would Zap, and he wants individual communities to buckle down a little harder ourselves. I know we've been in contact with Mr. Jim Wolf about the couple situations. People are calling in to say reporting things. We need to let Jim know in the police department that if they're seeing large groups or they're concerned about situations or areas where people are congregating. But if you're able to get on this call, great, do that, please. And then Monty, did all of you get this? Things for cities to consider and discuss.
No, I just got that late this afternoon.
Oh, you did?
That was,
Okay.
that was from the last call. I'll send it out there.
Okay, all right. This is just things for cities to consider and discuss with relationship to the COVID-19 emergency. Talks about things that we're already doing, actually, some of these. Check with your schools. I see some parks or cities, park boards are putting caution tape around playground areas. And because, the virus can live on stainless steel and plastic and metal for days now. So there's just more things for us to consider keeping our community safe. Thank God we've been spared a little bit at this time. So these next 2 weeks are going to be the most crucial, I think, of what we're hearing. So hopefully we can get through this, weather the storm. We're all in this together. That's all I have. Any questions for me from everybody? Okay, moving on to 10A, NDERF annual meeting. Monty, anything to?
So far, it's scheduled for May 20th, whether it'll actually be a real meeting or just a conference, whatever. But we can always just submit our votes by proxy for any positions or resolutions. So,
Okay.
just more an FYI.
Okay. 12A, duplicate warrant requested by Mid-States. How much was this $100 duplicate warrant? We need a motion, Monty,
Yes,
to approve it? Okay.
Yes.
So moved.
Motion by Wolf,
Second.
second by Stern. Discussion? Roll call.
Wolf,
Aye.
Stern,
Aye.
Hack,
Aye.
Pillar,
Aye.
Obenauer.
Aye, motion carried. 12B, equalization meeting, is on April 14th at 6:00 PM. Monty, how are we gonna do it?
We will be doing it the same way we're doing this meeting. It'll be a phone call provided to everybody, and whoever wants to show up can. We're trying to make it clear that anybody that has a question about their assessment can submit a written appeal, and then we'll forward those on to the county tax director for review.
Okay, hope everybody can make it. Any questions or comments about that? Okay, approval of the bills, please.
Move to approve the bills.
Motion by Stern to approve,
Second.
second by Wolf. Discussion. Roll call.
Stern,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Hack,
Aye.
Pillar,
Aye.
Obenauer.
Aye. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Be safe.